Okay, guys. Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm Jeneth Blackert,
And I'm Leon Karina.
and this is the Hout Hustle Mystic Morning Show. Today, we're talking with Katie Sutton about the eclipse and 12D energies.
Yay.
Very exciting times, very chaotic times.
It's interesting times for sure.
Oh my gosh. Just a reminder, if you're watching on YouTube, to like, subscribe, and hit the bell and join us for each of our shows every Tuesday and Thursday.
If you're not already subscribed, jump on our mailer list. You can grab our free gifts and all of the information at www.houthustle.com. That is where we send out all of the speakers that are coming up. Plus, we have a new live event coming up at the end of it's actually November 7th through the 9th, and another summit that is coming up in October.
Real fast.
Yeah, so we have it's real fast, and want you to make sure that you're going to get all the information. So you do that by joining at houthustle.com.
I want to invite you to join us on Thursday. We are going to talk about how everything is responding to you, right, wrong, good, bad, and oh my gosh, and it's also my birthday.
It's a birthday show.
So we will be having a little party as
right.
well.
So definitely come back and have some cake with us. With that, how everything
hot brownie. I might need it by Thursday.
Oh man,
lots of chaos going on in my world. You want
to do some morning brew with Woo?
We can call it morning brew with Woo.
Ooh, it's the tea, huh?
Yeah.
Go ahead.
Just a little chaos. And so I just can tell you that I'm feeling these energies more and more and more now. And sometimes I know that it's created by a point of view.
Yeah.
Sometimes I know it's created by just responding to my energy to come up, show up, and be there. So that's a little taster on what we're going to talk about on Thursday, that I'm kind of navigating these waters, so to speak, a little bit different than I feel that I have.
So I know that's why that's coming up for you, right? We always teach, well, we should be teaching, and God says that in the Bible as well, but teach what you most need to learn. And that is how we share and how we expand.
And that's why we do this show, because we have chaotic minds.
I know it's how I got into life coaching. I want to know about myself. Well, with that, I do have a little bit of Mystic Space Weather News. For today's Mr. Space Weather News, I just wanted to add a little thought to your brain. I wanted to ask you, could your thoughts and your choices actually be rewriting your past? Well, you've heard me say this before as a channeled message that came through from Archangel Michael, that very much so your choices, your thoughts do rewrite the past. However, whenever I was saying that, I always kind of feel kind of goofy. I'm like, the past doesn't exist. You could rewrite it anyway. But when I was looking through some articles today, I found that there is an article published in the Scientific News that says that our past, and so bear with me because I lost the article and then it came back up, and I really wanted to share this today because I really want to hammer in the idea that this is true, right? So what the scientists did, that they found a phenomenon. It's related to the idea of retrocausality, which suggests that future events can influence the past. What? I told y'all this is real. I told y'all. However, this is not a true time travel as it is seen in science fiction. What they did, and I'm just going to kind of say in the most simplest ways, in the split test, right? So what they did is they put a photon through, and what they realized was that the pathway, like the causeway path, like the choice, wasn't defined until after the photon had gone through the double slit and was observed. So that means that the which way does it go didn't show up till after it was observed, till after the event happened, right? So that's kind of like whenever we're talking about timeline jumping, and we're always saying put yourself, imagine yourself, put yourself, visualize into that forward space, into that other timeline. What happens is that actually becomes the thing, right? And then everything else has to rearrange in order to create that to be the case. So because that is observed, right? So basically saying that we are in fact always, I don't know about always because I can't say that from the scientific review, but there is data that shows now that because the observer has made that event, that the things behind it has to change in order to become that event.
Yeah.
So that's what I had to share. You can find out the whole actual article, and like that's my summary, y'all. It's like the informal summary, but you can find the whole article in published in Popular Mechanics in the August 2025 version.
And we'll put it on Instagram with the clip.
Yay! And that's what I got for today's Mystic Space Weather News.
Great. You guys, talking about Instagram, we've been really working hard to get our newsletters out there so that you don't have to always be hunting down something through your email.
Yeah.
So if you get a chance, make it on over to Instagram.com/How Hustle Live so that you can see some of the new stuff we've been posting almost every day these days. So I would love for you to be a part of that party. All right, I'm going to go ahead and bring Katie up, and we will get started talking about these frequencies that are going on now that are kind of causing a little chaos in some of our worlds, which is a creative energy. So
it is.
I don't take it too bad. Katie, welcome.
Hi, thank you for having me.
Thanks for joining us. We had you on our last summit, and we just thought that the conversation was just so spectacular, talking about some ethereal bodies. And today I wanted to talk to you a little bit about some of what you're aware of that's going on now, and really how we can navigate some of these frequencies.
Great. Yeah, you kind of mentioned the eclipse, and I do an energy update every month, and the themes for October came in 2 weeks early. So we're already getting information about what's coming in next month. But as we're finishing out September and completing the energies of the eclipse, what my guides that I channel have been talking about is that this eclipse cycle was the ending of endings, because this is a 9-year, it's an ending year, and it's the last eclipse portal of the year. And what I've been witnessing with clients is that they're closing out patterns that impact them on a multidimensional level that have been going on for many ancestral generations, many soul lifetimes, and have repeated themselves over and over in this lifetime. And the way that we're closing it is actually by witnessing the energy and being with the emotions that are arising to allow them to alchemize into our next stage of personal empowerment.
Wow.
And as we move into October, the guides brought in the themes very early because they told me I needed to practice speaking them with compassion, because there's kind of some tough love coming in for October, where we closed out these chapters, and now we really have to take responsibility and accountability for the choices that we're making to uphold the reality that says that I'm completed with that pattern, because we can very easily backslide into something that is, related to that pattern that we've maybe just recently closed out or become aware of closing out. And we are actually in charge of the reality that we create, and we're creating from our vibration, we're creating from our frequency, the action that we take in the world. And when we hold space for the parts that are coming into awareness of this new reality without resistance, allowing whatever emotions are needing to come forward, we actually create more stickiness for that new timeline that's anchoring. We've got a lot in October around choice, and some pretty strong medicine that says, we think we want freedom of choice, but then when we're given it, we often get overwhelmed and go back into our comfort zone of wanting to be told what we need to be doing. So that's going to be some of the medicine coming through in my healing circle in October, because it's important that we anchor into our next stage of creatorship as beings, because we are very powerful.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, so a couple things came up. Can you talk to us about portals? Like they literally talk about the eclipse with these other huge portals. And I know from doing some channeling that I'm like, are these Arcturian made portals that you go through? Or are these just our energy portals that we sense like in, Mount Shasta or Sedona?
Sure.
And they're like, no, we use both, but in general, we only use our own. Now, are some of these portals of ascension, are they related to some of the portals of where some galactic energies and beings come through? Can you talk a little bit about that?
Sure. Yeah, I realize a lot of times in spiritual circles we use these words and we never define them, which is one of my pet peeves. So I'm glad that you're
Yeah.
asking the
I'm
question.
glad that you have a pet peeve about that, because I do think it's important. Even myself, I find myself using some words and I'm like, wait, have I do I really understand
Yeah.
where that's coming from and how that's supposed to be interpreted?
That's something
Yeah.
else we should define, like realm, dimension,
Or to the best
portal,
of
like,
our ability, right? To the
yeah,
best of
like
the way
what
we
the
understand it.
frequency is to us.
Sure.
Yeah.
Mhm.
So when I look at astrological events or eclipse things or even repeating number dates like 1212 or 1010, what I witness is that there's an alignment energy. So if we understand that creation happens in this frequency of alignment through sacred geometry,
Yeah.
astrology and all of the things that we study are kind of modalities to help us understand alignment. And when we bring awareness to something, it's 1212 right now as I look up under
Yay.
the guys.
So funny. I love that.
When we bring awareness to a repeating pattern, we're actually bringing awareness to this understanding of how creation works. And so think of a portal, an eclipse portal when the stars are aligning and we have astrological events or we have dates aligning as a point of focus. And we can either choose to participate in that point of focus and bring our energy and use that energy of alignment to create, or we can just say, oh, it's just another day and I'm
Yeah.
just going to go on about my experience. But what I have witnessed, especially in the last 2 years, is that these dates, these eclipses, these astrological events, not only are we talking more about them, so there's bringing more awareness to that alignment, but we're moving through things in such complex and chaotic ways. And there's so much desire for change that they are getting more and more intense. And so, like you
Mhm.
were talking about,
Yeah.
there's a level of intensity that is just continuing to heighten. And so every time I think, oh, this next astrological portal is going to be no big deal. It's like somebody ups the ante of what we have the capacity to experience. And we're on the cusp of this new beginning as a collective consciousness where we're moving beyond so much duality and polarity, where we've been kind of mired in these old programs and ways of being and separation. And when we're in that, it's like, I think some people are calling it the extinction burst, right? It's like there's a lot of chaos coming to the surface because that duality has to be witnessed in order for it to transform. And so when we have these portals or days of alignment, it's really an opportunity to allow the supportive energies coming in to create a container for us to do bigger work. It's like getting together, when I do my healing circles and we have like 60 or 70 people on the call, I always tell them, let's do this work together because it's a lot easier to lift the heavy things in those moments of coherence and alignment. And I believe that's what these astrological events and repeating number kind of days are doing for us. And
Mhm.
in terms of connection to the idea of sacred portals on the earth, it's very similar in that that's a physical location that is a space of alignment of energy, right? So we've got a
Mm.
physical location versus a time location.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And
Right.
so when we're thinking of dimensional awareness, it's the same kind of alignment, but in a different dimensional frequency or different way of defining dimension.
That makes sense.
Mhm.
First time it did, though.
Yeah, no, I didn't get, I guess I've never been gone that deep with it. I just had that, brief encounter of that one awareness that there's different types of portals for one.
Yeah.
And two, some of them are actually galactically
Yeah.
made, which sounds very Star Warsy, and I love it.
Yeah. Yeah. And we are portals, right? We are
Mhm.
channels. We are bridges
Yes.
between heaven and earth. And when we are aligning our frequency field, when we're aligning our chakras, when we're doing our energy work, our breath work, whatever our spiritual practices, we're refining our portal of creation as well. Because when we
Mhm.
desire to create something, we put a vision out into the world, and that vision has to come down through our entire aligned channel in order to land in our
Mhm.
root to exist in our physical reality. So we are also portals.
Yeah, yeah, I
Yeah,
guess
I
I
truly
never
believe
thought of
that.
it that
I do
way.
believe that.
It's funny, on Friday, Leonka had this like visual of, I called it puppeteering, but do you want to share it? I think maybe that might open up the conversation here.
Oh, it was basically, if I could try to bring it back, it was, and I had this flash of like,
Oh.
you know how you get the download
Yep.
and you try to repeat what you were saying. So it was almost like whenever someone, okay, say it was like stepping out of the matrix, and they're stepping out of the matrix, and then I could see myself outside of the matrix. I can see myself being when I run into my subconscious programming, right? So that's the puppeteering where I go boop, 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 and I'm just checking the boxes to do my day, right? Whether that's just unconsciously, hopefully not driving, but unconsciously doing things or operating, right? How I respond to people, my unconscious bias. And then whenever I can for a second be the observer, at that moment, I can now see the puppeteering happening. And we were talking about like the use of possible hypnosis in order to help, circumvent that from happening so easily. But what do you think of when you hear the word, like, how do you even approach the concept of matrix and, programming in that way? For me, it did give me that sense of separation, and to know that there is this programming that either my ego or self has already done it subconsciously, right? So my subconscious runs on that way. And then there also is this very intentional, I'm present, I'm making choices, I'm living with intentionality and more in alignment and connected to source, right? So wanted to hear your thoughts on that.
Yeah, I think there's a lot of different words that we could use to describe that effect of being able to step outside of the societal, ancestral, and trauma-based programs that we run
Yes.
and get consciousness of that, right? One of our big themes in September was this idea of being the witness, and that's a
I'm
multidimensional.
glad you brought it back around.
Yeah, that's
Yeah,
a
yeah.
multi-dimensional frequency, one where we're being the witness of whatever's coming up for us and holding it in grace and compassion, right? Being the observer of the emotions, the patterns, whatever, without judgment. But it was also equally as powerful for us to be able to do that for other people and out in the world. And so when we're stepping into this place of observing whatever programs or emotions are coming up without judgment and compassion, if we practice that for ourselves, then we have a greater capacity to do that for the duality that we experience in the world.
Yes.
But we can also practice it in the reverse, meaning if you're better at holding space for other people and you're practicing being that neutral, compassionate observer, then just understand that that same thing needs to be done for these parts of you that are also running duality and programming. And one of the things that I witnessed with people, I was just having a conversation in a session before I got on with you all about, when we have a shadow part that comes up or we have something that's operating us as a program that we've inherited, there's often a tendency to want to kind of bypass that and not validate it. Try to transform it without
Well,
validation.
this would be some of the navigation we need to talk about then.
I was going to say, I'm so glad you're saying that, because I almost asked the question when you first opened up this conversation about where your guides wanted to take this conversation today for October. And I really wanted to make sure we're getting into that, because it felt like it was really needing to come through. I felt like, and what I always say is, if I see things in patterns, I feel like it's a theme that might be coming up. So one of the patterns or themes that I see right now is this integration of shadow self, and very, very, very much so. Like I've seen, Debbie Ford's books and stuff like that before, but for some reason it seems everywhere. And when you said it right now, I felt like, wow, I feel like it's again. So is that a version of what okay. So I wanted you to definitely expand on that and what the guides were leading you to share with us today, for sure.
Yeah, and that one of the reasons why you're seeing shadow discussion come up so fervently is because of where we are as a collective and what we're trying to move beyond. But it's also because when we go into an eclipse, it's all about light and dark and shadows. Right. We have this idea of at the beginning of the portal where we are kind of cast into the dark and we walk through the shadows for 2 weeks in that eclipse portal. and then the solar energy returns in the solar eclipse, and then we can come into the clarity of understanding those shadows to a new degree.
Mm.
And so you hear a lot in the collective consciousness, even if people don't understand that's why it's coming up, because the eclipse is generating that energy. Even in medieval times, what would happen when an eclipse would come in and they didn't understand astrologically what was going on is all of their fear would get triggered that God was coming to punish them and the world was ending. That was their own way of working through their shadow experience. And
Wow.
in other cultures, they
Interesting.
would look at those eclipses and solar events as portals, right? As we are kind of reclaiming now, as times to really go into dense energy and transform it with the support of that galactic cosmic frequency. And so that's why we see a lot of shadow work coming up in these types of portals. And when we're trying to integrate the shadow, what I find is people are very good at trying to integrate the shadow that they think of as shadow. So, like a client was just saying to me, she's like, I understand that, I think of the shadow as being like the sinister parts of me.
Yes.
But
And I still do.
yeah, but what I witness is that the shadow is actually, there's other components to it too, where the society has placed value on something that is harming us. So I think
Mhm.
of things like over responsibility, over caretaking, people pleasing. Some
Oh,
of those patterns are shadow
Yes.
patterns. They
Yikes.
can make us look very successful in certain situations. We can become the wounded healer that's taking care of everybody, but not ourselves. And that's serving. And when we begin to understand that we just need to bring that shadow element into balance, it doesn't dismantle, it doesn't go away. It's bringing love to it and understanding the why and making different choices. We then begin to integrate that shadow and it becomes a superpower for us. Because that's
wow.
ultimately, we need the light and the dark to be
Yes.
integrated to find our superpowers as individuals.
That brought up a few things for me. One, the eclipse, when it's happening, whether it's a solar or a lunar, casts a different shadow quite literally.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that things that are so literal like that, we really have to, observe.
I've been saying that for years.
Yes, you have. And it's finally seeping in.
Yeah, everything is connected. Everything is guiding us back home to our transformation and our healing,
Mm.
right? And,
Yep.
I think a lot of times there's a good bit of shaming that gets done for people aligning with these frequencies and, making too much of them. And we definitely don't want to be fear mongering or going into a place of disempowerment with it.
Sure.
We want to claim the power of it.
I have a big question. What do you say to the person that feels guilty? Say
Mm.
you're having, I don't know, say you have a drug problem or you have extramarital affair or you have something that it just makes you feel you're gambling, whatever those things are, right? So the thing that we call our sins.
Mhm.
What do you say to somebody that has, because I know that we all have something, so, or most, I don't know, I can't speak for everybody, but we all have something that we feel kind of bad about, right? And I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to send like that. I don't know if I'm like, if I'm doing the right things by October, right? Like, what do you tell people there? Because I know that it could be very different than the way that we view this.
Yeah, I get the pleasure of holding space for people's deepest, darkest things.
I bet.
And I have had people over the years tell me things that they have never told anyone else.
Yeah.
And what I do in those moments when someone is brave enough to share something that they've been holding as a secret deep inside of themselves that they're carrying shame for is hold a space of complete non-judgment and acceptance that there is, number one, a reason why that behavior is taking place. Sometimes it's
Mm-hmm.
very obvious why
Mm-hmm.
we go into addiction. We have pain and we're trying to separate from it.
Mm-hmm.
Other times it's less obvious and it's ancestral or it's past life, and there are components that are happening behind the scenes, and we can't really figure out why we're going into these behaviors. But
Mm-hmm.
we cannot transform shame through pain. We can
Mhm.
only transform shame through the frequency of unconditional love and grace.
That's it. Oh,
But
that's
shame is
beautiful.
kind of pain
And that's what you're
too.
saying.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Right.
if
Because
we
you,
can practice that with ourselves, then we have a template of witnessing the really hard things that are happening in our collective in our political landscape, our government, all the things that are going on where people are being harmed. And we can create change not through adding more pain in the world and
I
going
agree.
polarity, but through finding compassion and holding accountability and responsibility and discernment and boundaries and using our voice, which is very powerful, while also maintaining the understanding of why someone might be so fearful that they're making choices that create harm. And it's the same thing for ourselves as it is as we witness that in the collective.
Yeah.
That's how we hold that space of neutrality and unity consciousness when we're witnessing so much polarity. But if we haven't practiced doing that for our parts, it's going to be incredibly difficult for us to be able to hold that in the world.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow, that
Yeah.
one of the works that I've studied, they call blame, shame, regret, guilt, and a bunch of other ones, distractor energies. Like because they are needless. You only feel them inside. Literally, you have invented them like buttons or energies like that.
Oh, that's right.
How do you go about do you ever just say done with that energy, transformed? I mean, in your work, right? How do you work with people like that to help them with some of these, contracted energies that actually are very needless and just installed and
Yeah.
just program flatline?
I almost
Right?
feel like
It's not even like something to create and change and act upon, is what I was going to say.
Yeah, I think that's very apropos for what I feel coming in for October, where we're getting some tough love of okay,
Yep.
you've told the story, you've done the thing, you've
Yeah.
upheld that frequency. The conversation or the flip from victim to empowered is like a flip of a coin.
Mm.
And it does not matter how many times I hold space for someone's victimized self and show them that they should love it, speak with them about how to support that until they make the conscious decision that they no longer need that part of them to uphold an identity, uphold a relationship, uphold a pattern. That will not change. And so, what I try to do in session with people, or even in my workshops and classes, is bring through enough higher frequency awareness and expanded perspective so that we can look at something from a multidimensional lens, so that we can kind of separate and become the observer enough to
Yeah.
create space for it to
Mhm.
transform.
Right.
And a lot of times it's a divine timing thing. It's we may want a pattern to be done, and I can literally, I've attuned enough in my empathy and my energetic awareness that I know when I'm trying to force a pattern to be done versus when I'm ready for it to be done versus when I'm avoiding doing the work to allow it to be done. I can tell the
Yes.
difference. And I think we have to start honing into our experience through our practices to understand where we are on that spectrum. Because I can, when I'm working with someone else, also witness where they are. They may or may not be able to receive the truth of me telling them where they are. And so a lot of times the guides will say they're not ready to hear that they're stuck in victim. You need to be compassionate and loving and
Yeah.
let them be there.
Yeah.
And then they'll come, 3 months later for their next session, and all of a sudden they are ready for what I call the mic drop truth bomb moment. And I normally prepare them and say,
Mhm.
okay, there's a truth bomb coming. And I can witness them receiving it and actually being able to hear it. And then there's something that happens in their energy field that clicks into place where all of a sudden they have this awareness, and then they can flip that coin from victim to
Yep.
empowered.
Mm.
But I can't make anyone get there. I can
Yeah.
speak the most beautiful truth with the most compassion and love, but until they're ready to receive it, right? You can't lead the horse to water and make them drink. They have to be ready.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I suffered from alcoholism, still do, but in the later stages of before I decided to quit in 2020, I felt a lot of guilt and shame in trying to hide this fact. And even from myself, I'm trying to hide it from myself,
Mm.
but I also knew that it was there. And if I was hearing something like, with the October thing and am I ready to change? And at that time, you could not get me. I didn't know if I could get me to get, sober or to address it straight on. But I also now realize that I can and do love myself no matter what.
Mhm.
But I didn't have that then. And I
Mm.
think that was also another
Mhm.
way in which I was holding on to the addiction. So it was re-keeping that pattern as well.
Yeah,
And
and
so I just share that for others on the line.
I think that guilt and shame is just like any other emotion. I don't
Mm.
put emotions on a spectrum of good or bad. I do see that some are more dense than others, which means that they might carry more weight in our frequency field.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Guilt and shame are valuable emotional lessons that we move
Mm.
through, right?
Mhm.
Until they become things that are just holding us back. And only we know when we're in that zone. And I would venture a guess that 90 to 95% of the population knows when they're looping in a pattern and they're ignoring, or they're kind of holding themselves, versus when they're really just not ready. There is a
Mm-hmm.
difference.
Yeah.
And I think part of what October is bringing us is this notion of clarity, right? A lot of times after eclipses, we get this enhanced clarity. We're still kind of in the shadow of the eclipse through October 6th,
Mm.
but and we have an equinox right after that, which is like a still point energy where we kind of come back into balance. So we're integrating and processing a lot, but I have already felt that the energies for October are going to bring in some clarity and some capacity for us to take some steps, even if they're small steps, to be able to move into that new timeline that we've been anchoring.
I love that. Thank you.
Mhm.
That just saying that is empowering.
Yeah.
I
So
wanted to see if people could
I wanted
experience her
to,
work. Go ahead.
yeah, I have been going through this chaos, and as we seeded, I'll be really talking about it on Thursday. But if you're open, I wouldn't mind getting some little help on something that I'm going through. And I'm not sure, like I call it a point of view, basically, right? So it's like, talking to Lianka, and it's like almost everything that comes out of my mouth is a point of view. And I know a point of view creates your reality, right, wrong, good, or bad.
Mhm.
That's very much how I look at things, especially when I work with clients and process them. So, in trying to process myself, I have really come into quite a dichotomy.
Mm.
And I'm just going to say it straight out here. We have made a lot of changes within the business. And I get in this like, okay, we've hired people, and I'm like, go faster, go faster, go faster, right? Because I and Lianka both work very, very quickly. And I find that this whole go faster thing is actually not really coming from my greatest light,
Mhm.
so to speak. But I have zero idea how to address my, annoyance with this time gap.
Mhm. Mhm. Mhm.
And I don't even know what questions to ask anymore, because I'm just like, I want this. This is my point of view. And does that mean I need to make sure I only hire people that work that way? Or does that mean that maybe this is showing me something and
Mhm.
I need to maybe change something within to have greater ease? And I kind of see you nodding. So I'll let you ask
I'm just
questions
gonna,
to go further
if
here.
I can hint, we have had our new people here for probably like 4 or 5 days.
Okay.
Yes, it's
So
brand new.
we're just getting used to this new frequency, right? We're getting used to a new frequency. Well,
Yes.
I'm smiling also because this year has been so weird for me because I'm used to, like, I create a lot and I'm used to teaching lots of classes and doing a lot, and I have slowed down immensely this year, mostly to process my
Hmm.
dad's passing that was in December.
I'm
Oh,
sorry.
I'm sorry about that. That does
And
take time.
it does. And Spirit keeps bringing through lessons for me around worthiness in beingness and not doingness, which I
Ah,
preach all the time, but it is hard to live by when you are a dynamic manifesting generator, multidimensional creator that likes to be doing exciting things all the time. So
yes,
there's
that,
that.
yes.
Yeah. But what I heard when you started talking is that when you're working with this point of view aspect, there's a little bit of a mental loop that you're stuck in. So
Yes.
you're kind of going around and around in your mental body going, well, this is just a point of view and I can just change my point of
Mm.
view and then it'll be okay. But there's actually a deeper part of you that is existing in your feminine, because our masculine is our mental and physical body component. Our
Mm.
feminine is our emotional and energetic. And so there's a feminine aspect of you that's crying out to be heard that says, I need more space. I need more time. I'm a cyclical being. I need to honor those cycles. There's like some inherent wisdom inside of you that's trying to come forward. And so there's an emotion that's getting triggered for you when there are people operating in a different pace as you. And instead of
Okay.
dealing with that emotion, which is a totally valid emotion of frustration or confusion or whatever's coming up for you, and holding space for that emotional part that's having a reaction to this catalyst, you're going into the mental loop of, I'll just change my point of view and I'll be okay. And
Yeah.
that's actually a shadow part that's protecting you from evolving in this case. Right? It's protecting you.
Yes.
Yeah, interesting. I
Protecting you.
love
This
it.
Yeah.
reality the way it has been, because you've got some conditioning probably from childhood and ancestral and maybe past life that says this is how we create success. We move fast, fast, fast because we don't want to miss anything. And there's probably a bunch of karmic loops attached into that too, of like missing some opportunity or something bad happening in another lifetime.
Mm.
So this protector part has come in and said, I need to keep you from slowing down because life might end or death might happen or something really bad might occur, right? We might
Wow.
lose everything. So it's a big energy. And when we have a big energy like that, we can't just think our way out of it. We actually have to sit down and hold love. So this
Mm.
scared child inside of you, or whatever this part is, needs an immense amount of love and compassion because she's being asked to evolve in her worldview of what's protected her and kept her safe.
Mm.
And that takes
Okay.
time, right? You're 4 or 5
Yes.
into working with people in this new way. And yeah, they're definitely teaching you something, but I heard a lot of shame in what you were saying. It's like, oh, is this just trying to teach me that I need to be patient? Well, sure, that's on one dimensional frequency, but
Mm.
let's look at why the impatience is there. Let's look at the protector part and why it is holding you
Wow.
back from receiving this slower pace and knowing that that's possible and you can still get to your end result if the pace happens differently, right?
Yes.
So it's much more complicated than just working styles and the things that annoy us, right? There's a deeper wound here for you to explore it and bring some deep, deep compassion and unconditional love to, so that this part can start to be heard in a different way and transform. And you might need to reset boundaries at some point, right? You might need to change priorities and shift into a different way of instructing those who work for you in order to accomplish a compromise, a place of neutrality between where you are and where they are.
Yeah. Wow. So basically, I'm just playing really on the surface, like frequency, 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 because that is very much how I look at things. Like, what is the frequency I'm being? Well, I know in my human design that that frustration is the not me.
Yeah.
And yet I will sit here in frustration and just kind of go, I know this isn't the frequency, change it, change it, change it. And I've almost been like, not giving myself any true unconditional love and compassion is what I hear that you're saying
Yeah.
on like what is the shifts, the frequency shifts around this.
Mm.
It's
It
funny.
feels it
Yeah.
feels like you're very much in your upper chakras, which is where you orient into the world, because we all have different ways of
Mhm.
orienting and how do we create change.
Today, that's
And
true.
yeah, and this yeah,
This
and this
with this conversation, it's true. Maybe it's a better way to say that.
yeah.
Sure.
And
Yeah.
so this particular experience is asking you to drop down into
Uh-huh.
the lower chakra column, where some of the survival mechanisms and some of the programming around confidence and power are there, and they've served you well and you've done a great job in that frequency. And maybe this is transforming, right? Maybe there's a new
Wow.
way of working that's trying to come online through this. And if you can drop in to be with the emotions that are getting stirred up and realize that they're totally valid, then
Mhm.
maybe that awareness of what's trying to shift can come forward for you.
Yeah, I love that.
I love that. Thank you. My gosh, I feel like I have to listen to this 100 times again.
Yeah, it was so good.
Well, I would love to take some other callers if that's okay with you,
Of course.
and really, talk about some of these shadows and some of the chaos that's going on during this time in particular. I feel like as the ascension keeps coming, we're just going to keep having more and more of this kind of
And I
minutes.
will remind people that chaos is creative energy. Things have to,
Yes.
be repurposed. And so sometimes you have the chaos in order to create in sacred geometry a new, more beautiful, extravagant pattern and structure. So it has to break down somewhere. It just feels weird.
It's uncomfortable.
It can be, yes. All right, Tiffany, you're up.
Hi.
Hi, Tiffany.
I was hoping for some clarity around a situation that's been causing turmoil for a while, but especially this past month. My friend, like you said, the victim, ultimate victim of her cancer diagnosis. And it's just been really hard for me, especially as of late, because my needs of a friendship is not getting met. So, like, in the back of my mind, I'm like, I need to have some distance, but I'm like, no, you need to be there for her. And then I'm like, you need to put yourself first too. And I don't know why I have such a strong need to be, I guess, needed, or a strong need to be her everything right now, because I don't know. It's just the back and forth, and I've been asking a couple different Akashic, teachers when they're on the summit, like, please help me figure out what this friendship's even supposed to um, be teaching me. I don't know. It's just kind of where I'm at. Like, I want to run away, but that's been a pattern in my whole life. So I'm like, don't run away. So.
Sounds like you're navigating something that's incredibly hard to hold space for in somebody else's process, and you're trying to honor this person's sovereignty and their choices while also honoring your sovereignty and choices, and finding the balance between that, which, by the way, is what's happening in your life, which is a microcosm of the macrocosm of what we're all working on as a collective, right? How do we take care of ourselves while also witnessing the injustice in the world and the things that are happening? This is what it looks like for you in this experience of trying to hold the duality as sacred, right? And so what the guides are wanting to say to you, and the creator beings, which is my 12th dimensional collective that works with me a lot, are coming in, and what they're wanting you to understand is that it's a both and. Right. So you're ping ponging between duality of I take care of me or I take care of this person. And you understand at a conscious level, because you just articulated it, that you need to do both, but you don't have a template in your inner being of how to do that, which is likely coming from your inner child, because she's like kind of screaming at me from your heart chakra of the expectations of your past experience, where you had to kind of negate yourself in order to take care and caretake of those around you. Maybe you were more emotional and sensitive and tuned in than those around you. And so this person is really inviting you into a pattern recognition and a pattern breaking. Your soul contract with them looks very much like one of empowerment for both parties. When you can find, and I know you will find this, I don't know what the breakthrough will look like for you, but I feel like you're really close within the next few weeks of coming into it. When you find that balance of being able to hold compassion for yourself and using your voice to set a boundary while also being there for your friend, this will be a catalyst of unwinding multiple lifetimes and multi-generational patterns of caretaking and what I call the collapsed feminine, where we negate our personal expression in order to caretake others, and then we go into self-sacrifice or martyrdom. And so the contract with this person is so incredibly valuable, which is why you keep coming back to this place of like, I got to get this right. And you keep asking the question, because your soul is like, I know that this is a learning opportunity, and I know that there's some beautiful divine energy in this. At some point, when you find this balance, and it's probably going to look like you having a really hard conversation, just to be honest, that's what it's going to be. You're going to have to say something, and you're not going to be able to control how this person receives it. And it's going to snap both of you out of this disempowered frequency that you're both mirroring. And as you have that hard conversation, it's going to interrupt the energy. The vibration of your voice and having and speaking the truth for you is going to interrupt this energy and bring in a new state of consciousness for you. And as that happens, you're going to then create differently going forward in your other relationships. And you're going to come into this state of gratitude of how valuable this experience has been for you. And when you reach that gratitude and you feel it at a deep core level, you're going to know that you're complete. But do not rush. Let yourself have all of the process, all of the feels, have all of the temper tantrums of frustration and the sadness and all of the messy bits, because there's so much being unwound from your nervous system, because it's very much a nervous system conversation as well, as you're allowing space for this process to take as long as it needs to take. You're almost there, but just allow the process to unfold.
Okay. Now
Yeah.
that makes sense. I know I'm almost there because I'm almost at my breaking point.
That
But,
point of surrender, right? Right. You're
yeah,
almost there.
yeah.
And when the truth comes out, like, just keep asking spirit for help and finding the time to say the thing. And it's okay if it comes out in shadow and messiness. We often avoid, we try to be perfect in how we're articulating, and sometimes it just needs to fall out of our mouth and it needs to land. And then we do the reparation work and we do whatever we need to do to work through that. So just allow, right? Allow that truth to come out. And it might be really messy when it does, or it might be really beautiful. We don't have to be attached.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you for that question.
Thank you, Tiffany. All right, next up is Dana. You're up.
Hi, everyone.
Hi.
So lately, I had this whole year really deep, dense energy releasing, and then through the eclipse, I woke up the other morning and my whole heart space was vibrating,
Mm-hmm.
and I knew this was happening during my lucid time because I'm just having really vivid awareness, and several hours before waking up that bleeds into my waking time. And lately my throat is clearing. The top of my solar plexus has been itching, and I'm having these symbols come through also in my mind's eye. So I'm just wondering if you can expand on that for me.
Sure. Yeah. It sounds like you're going through what I call the quintessential heart opening experience. It's normally very physical when we go through a heart opening, and remember that our heart is what I call our havingness meter. So the more open our heart space is, the more capacity we have to receive whatever it is that we're trying to create. So Dana, what I'm picking up on is like you've got some I'm going to use a very corporate term here, but you've got some stretch goals that you've set for yourself as a soul of like things that you want to create and things that you want to transform and things that you want to move into. And you've been moving through the density kind of leading up to this eclipse portal and giving yourself permission to kind of be and play in that frequency. And now there's something that you have that you're wanting to create that you're kind of being pulled into. And so your body is kind of, and your energy field is being kind of stretched and transformed to be able to receive that next thing. So you're kind of embodying from the inside out in your chakra column and your physical vessel this new timeline. There is a little bit, the imagery that you give me is quite funny. It's actually like a big like anaconda that's eaten something really big and it's kind of stuck. And so there's a little bit of this energy of constriction that's happening of like you're trying to digest this huge new thing that you're trying to manifest, and it's getting a little stuck in your center channel, right, from the throat into the solar plexus. And so if you can just envision in your practices, maybe there's an embodiment practice that you could do that's like a heart opening or like a somatic practice. Really envision opening the heart, but actually the constriction is coming from your hip area. So it's coming from your sacral chakra. So it's heart and hip openers to begin to allow the body to begin to open to this bigger thing that you're trying to manifest. And once it gets down into the sacral and root, you'll have other things to work on that are like fear stories and, different survival pictures that'll get kicked up for you. Oftentimes when we're bringing in something new, we're afraid of losing everything that we have. Like that might come up. Just be with yourself through that process so that this energy can fully digest in your chakra column and land in your root so it can take hold in your reality.
Okay, so it was because my heart has been open. Is it just expanding?
Yeah, you're just going to your next place of what you believe you can have. We think of our heart chakra as, oh, it's either open or it's not. No, we are shifting in dimensional frequency. The mechanics of our energy field is constantly changing. Your intelligence in your heart chakra is shifting, and your belief about what you can have is transforming.
Okay, thank you so much.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you, Dana. Bianca has a question.
I do. I was like, you're getting so much information. I wanted to see if you have any insight for me. I have this thing where I always feel like I don't have enough time. I really tried to process that earlier today. I stayed up pretty late last night trying to finish doing, very, very admin stuff. And I feel like I'm just only getting admin stuff done, and I don't feel like I'm really creating and not even carving out time for myself to really let something new come through. And I know that I feel like I'm being called to do so, but I'm like, wait, but I got to get this done.
Mm. What does time mean to you? Like,
Ooh.
That's where I start the
So
money
where,
conversation.
so that's where I was trying to uncouple, that whole time equals money, right?
okay.
Time is money. So I was really trying to process that, and I'm like, I know that time's not real. I know that I create, but if I keep operating from, and I also know that I'm going to keep receiving what I'm putting out, and
Mm.
what I'm putting out is busyness, a
Mm.
ton of it.
So can I challenge you on something that you just said? So you said, I know that time isn't real. You are 100% true on a certain multi-dimensional plane, but the way that we operate in this 3D reality and in this physical body, time is definitely a constraint that we have to consider.
Okay.
And so you've got a kind of a war happening between this expanded self, and it's kind of similar to what Janeth is working through. It's like there's this expanded self. It's like, I know I can just change my frequency around this, and that's true, but there's a part of you that's resisting coming into that expression.
Oh my gosh, I call that the coach. I didn't really coin this, but I like the coach's curse, right? So we know something, and then we're like, I know this,
Yeah, but we don't like,
but it stays so
know
high
it.
level
Yeah.
that
And
we
so
don't go and be with it. Wow.
there's a part of you that's like, time is limited, and I want to really like, there's a lot of things for you around joy, and there's this thing in your solar plexus slash sacral chakra, somewhere in that zone. It's kind of bouncing between the two, that is not coming from this lifetime, but you have had the experience of getting in the zone and being in your joy and then dying. So there's like a past life
Mhm.
thing that you're clearing with, and probably ancestral too. You might have some ancestors who left too soon that you're coming up against in this, that says, yes, time isn't real, but it's kind of sure as shit real, because I have had this experience of
Mhm.
not being able to complete what I came here to complete.
Yeah.
So it's
Yeah.
actually about you holding both, right? Holding this understanding that on some level you can get as much done as you need in a 20-minute period that's very productive and focused, and you can ask for support in that to expand time when you're in a task. That is
Yeah. I
totally
like
real.
that.
But you also have to caretake this part of you that's like, but I want to make sure that I'm prioritizing my time so that I'm not missing out. I'm including joy, I'm being with my family, whatever your priorities are. It's also recognizing that there's a divine intelligence in that that says, hey, there's something to pay attention to here.
Mhm.
And so those things, oftentimes with unity consciousness, it's realizing that both things are true, and they're both 100% true. And being able to hold that means that we're holding unity, right? That's how we
Yeah.
move beyond duality to unity.
Thank you. That makes total sense. Sometimes I feel myself giving myself only one or the other,
Yeah.
and two things can be true at the same time. Thank you.
Yeah, and your little girl just wants to enjoy what she's doing and have fun, and be able to take breaks, right? Like, and
Yes.
and then also, sometimes I have this practice that I do when I'm very busy, and I will kind of negotiate with my guides so that I can get a whole day off to be in what I call my wandering energy, where I don't have a plan. And I
Yeah.
play, and sometimes that looks like leaving the house, sometimes it doesn't. I play that whole day. And then what I witness in the days after is that my productivity kind of goes through the roof, and my focus goes through the roof, because I've given that part of me that's in resistance space,
I
right?
love that. Yes. Yes.
Yeah, I think the key is to go and really play, and really plan the play.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah. Set the boundaries so that you have the space to play.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then from there, do the wonder, right? Let it kind of just
Mhm.
be
Yeah. And
free.
you've got plenty of time to get all the things done, but there is definitely a part of you in this lifetime that is afraid of what you've had as experiences in the past. So that's definitely something to say. I appreciate that this is a teaching lesson for me from other lifetimes, but I don't need to subscribe to that in this lifetime.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, that reads. Thank you so much.
Sure.
I would like to share your offer, and then we may take one more caller if you're good on time.
Yeah, that's great.
But I think there are people probably wanting to know how they can work with you. So I wanted to go ahead and bring that up. Do you want to go through this page real quick?
Sure. Yeah. So I decided to offer my latest workshop that I taught. I actually taught this at the beginning of the summer around healing your money story. And it's funny because when I think about resistant parts, the guides presented this workshop to me 3 years in a row to teach. And this was the first year that I was able to work through the resistance to teach it because
Wow.
money is a very dense and sticky frequency. And so in this 2 hour workshop, I teach a whole bunch of different things that are in my toolkit of working with money energy. You get introduced to your money guides. I give very practical, specific things on clearing energy around money, how to work with the frequency of money, how to think of the frequency of money. And the feedback that I got from everybody about this workshop is like they're still processing this months later and like integrating the teachings from it.
Wow.
Yeah, we
that's
should
the
have a
first.
conversation with you in the future on
I
money.
know I like this.
Mhm.
Like
Yeah.
that's juicy.
Yeah, and I
really
feel like
juicy.
eclipse time is a good time to work on things that are really sticky, right? So this money is a great time, it's a great time to throw in money stuff. And then I included some bonuses in here that kind of support getting you ready to be able to hold a different frequency with your money story. So I teach a
Mhm.
healing circle every month, and this is one that I felt like including because it's about expanding your heart field. What I was just talking about with Leonka about, or excuse me, with Dana about opening the heart field a little wider to be able to expand into your next creation space. That's what this healing circle is about, and kind of tapping into the divine
Oh,
intelligence.
that's great.
And then the other bonus that I included that's another healing circle recording is living your dream. And this is like as big as you can dream of whatever you can have and getting into that inner child
Cool.
That
energy.
sounds fun.
Fun.
Yeah, it's a little bit more lighthearted and joyful. And then I just felt like because October is going to be kind of a tough love month, that I wanted to give you all access to join me live for our call that's happening next Wednesday.
Oh,
So
I love this.
I'm about to record the energy update tomorrow. It's going to be around choice and freedom and sovereignty and autonomy. I don't know
Mhm.
exactly what the title is yet, but it's coming together. And so that'll be next Wednesday as well.
Wow. So where do we get to see your regular energy frequencies that you say you're recording and putting up?
Yeah, I put them on my YouTube channel. They're normally about 15 to 20 minutes, and I record them at the beginning of the month and they get posted every month. So it's just youtube.com/Zen Within Academy. And then I'll
Okay.
take clips and snippets of teachings and put that onto my Instagram and Facebook as well. And it goes out to my newsletter too, if you're on my newsletter.
Right. The link for the offer is www.houthustle.co/Katie. You can also find it at houthustle.com/Katie.
And anywhere where you find words. So on the newsletter, in the description, and on the Apple, all the pods. So everywhere where you get your pods, you will find the link for Katie's offer. And of course, if you ever have any questions, you can always email us at team@houthustle.com and we'll make sure you get set up.
Great. Can you take one more caller?
Sure. Yeah,
All
let's do it.
right, Becky, you're up.
Thank you. 2023, I made sort of a commitment at the beginning of the year that I wanted to get off of the log I was sitting on and find a way to be of service. And what happened, by that summer, all of this sobbing came up. And I thought I had done all my processing for this life, but no. And then it was like, I have been doing so much processing, past life, this life, yada, yada, yada. And I still wake up at night and say, "Do you need to cry?" and start sobbing. And it's like, I don't know whether I'm caught in something or whether I really am processing and clearing. I'm confused. Yeah.
Becky, when you asked to be of service, did you put any parameters around that?
No.
Because what's happening, and I want to just say that this is really beautiful. That's the way your soul is navigating this. And so there's no judgment. I want you to not go into judgment when you hear this.
Okay.
But what's happened is that you have opened yourself up to be a collective processor. And so you are definitely processing some of your things, but you have kind of tapped into the what I call the collective pain body.
Okay.
And you are processing within the divine feminine collective pain body specifically a lot of very dense energies. And that is absolutely a way to be of service.
Okay.
But there are I don't even want to say
Yeah.
higher because that makes it sound better or worse, but there are other dimensional frequencies that you can tap into to be of service in different ways. So when you now have this awareness and you start to integrate what we're talking about here, I want you to have a conversation with whoever you were talking to when you asked to be of service, because you literally created an energetic vow in that moment, and say, "Thank you so much for this experience. I have done such a great job processing all this collective pain. Now show me how I can be of service in a different way that is more joyful, more expansive, more creatively expressive for my soul, more connective with my community." Be more specific. Because, we think of our manifestation process of like, we just put something out and, spirit knows what we want. Well, it's like going to the diner and placing an order and saying, "I really want a cheeseburger," but then you ask for a salad, right? We've got to be a little bit more specific about how we want to show up, especially when we're talking about things of being of service and we're a very empathic and sensitive person. So refine your order. Allow this chapter to close. Take the learning, be appreciative of the learning, and let it be complete.
I could let it be complete.
If you decide it's up to you to really understand that you've served enough in this way. Not that there isn't enough, right? There's also this wounded program running in you of like, I'm not doing enough, right? And so I can see that you're kind of tapping into the collective pain body. And this is normally conditioning that we get from childhood too, of like, this is how we serve, or this is how we keep ourselves safe. So you're also unwinding from some patterns when you decide that you're no longer going to be. I had this recently on a trip to a sacred site. I was in pain. Everybody else was frolicking at the sacred site. And I was like, I am no longer the transmuter of pain for everybody around me. Right. And so when we make a declaration, we say to the universe how we want to orient. And so you just need to come into your power in this and make a different choice.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Beautiful question. Thank you.
Yeah, that was a beautiful question.
Glad you asked that question.
Yeah.
Yes, thank you. I was thinking I'm going to use that as the clip.
One time I was
It was so good.
Yeah, one time I was working with a client that was depressed, and she's like, I don't know what's going on. I'm just depressed. I'm depressed. And I was just kind of in kind of a channel. It was before I really acknowledged who my channel was and everything. And I was like, so let me ask you a question. How much of you really wants the world to be happy? And she just broke down and had chills. And at the time, I'm just like kind of, doing my regular thing. And she came back to me 2 weeks later and said, that was the one thing that released all of this. And it made me realize that when we decide we want to be a part of the collective to change the world, then that is exactly what happens. But you did it beautifully. Oh my gosh.
I love the fact that you said to be more precise, because sometimes we can show up as a surrogate for the collective. And I was raising my hand because I have totally been that person and I didn't understand why.
Me too.
Me too. Yeah.
I mean, I think that's part of the initiation that we move through when we say we want to be of service. The universe will show us all the ways we're doing it in a discordant frequency, right? And
Gotcha.
so, I've been the wounded healer. I've done all those things. Sometimes I still am that with those closest to me. And it's a
Yeah.
continual unplugging, because that's such a conditioning, especially for the feminine collective too, of this is how we serve, right? We tap
Mm-hmm.
into the pain and we emote the pain. And that is definitely a part of our process when we're empaths and sensitives. But we can also like show people what it looks like to have a really freaking good time and to
Yeah.
really enjoy and to be really in love and really alive, right? We can hold
Yeah.
those things.
And I really,
Yeah.
and I really feel like that's much more empowering at this time. That might be what the world is more needing of us anyway.
Yeah, it's
So,
time for us to
yeah.
alchemize that pain into creative expression. There's a reason why there's an uptick in artistic expression, and like there's kind of a renaissance happening in the art realm, because when we're faced with collective trauma, we can either let it snow us under, or we can take that energy and that emotion and alchemize it and turn it into creating something new and beautiful.
Mhm.
That's much.
Yeah, alchemizing.
Mhm.
Katie, thank you so much for your time today. It's been such a pleasure. It always is, but this is it definitely, the conversation was, I mean, I felt it all.
Yeah.
So thank
Oh my
you.
gosh, it was amazing.
Thank you both. Thank you for holding this space for those of us who are doing this work, and for the work that you're doing as well. And for
Thank you.
Thank you.
We will let you go. I wanted you guys to hang around just for a second. First of all, if you are looking for Katie's offer, it can be found at www.hauthustle.com/Katie. Haut is spelled Haute, hustle HUSTLE.com/Katie.
And then just a couple more announcements. Just wanted to remind you about the summit coming up. It will be October the 13th through the 17th. We're having 3 speakers a day. We get started at 9 a.m. Pacific, so make sure you mark your calendars. And you can always catch us on the replay, but you do need to be signed up on our newsletter in order to find out how to get your free ticket. So again, www.howhustle.com is how you get signed up. And we will send some more information for grabbing your free entry.
Absolutely. We have a live event coming up as well. It's November 7th, 8th, and 9th. I've put out things on Instagram and in the newsletter. Again, if you are looking for Instagram, you can find it at instagram.com/Hauthustle live.
Also, wanted to just remind you that we are part of a community here, and we do invite you to continue to share this information, share the shows. I mean, it's kind of how we tell the algorithm what we want to control it and not have it control us. So if this is calling you, please do share it and also subscribe. I was looking at our numbers and it was showing I think it was 69% are unsubscribed, but they watch the show. So if you could just subscribe, that'd be great. And also share it with your friends if you feel compelled. We also believe in giving back to youth and women-related causes. Right now, we're giving back to rising-up.org. So a portion of proceeds go to rising-up.org. It's a nonprofit organization run by children who refurbish laptops and tablets to give to other students in need for wellness and education.
Love it.
Yeah, and we will be back on Thursday. So don't forget to join us here live for Jenna's birthday.
Yeah. We will talk about time and money.
Yes, all the fun, all
We
the
will
things.
continue this crazy conversation.
Yeah, we'll
and
take it further.
hopefully Jenna's chaos will be a little less by then.
Yeah, I think we're probably going to get some really good insights just based off of what we got today. So that'll be interesting.
It'll be fun transforming in the next 2 days.
Yay. So we're Haut Hustle, and we're just reminding you to take a little time to enjoy the woo. Have a good one.
Bye, everyone.